Hello everybody, welcome to a little bit of grammar. Today we are going to talk about word building, and this is a particularly important skill if you want to, let's say, be more fluent with English and be more flexible with the syntax and the way you choose words in the word order and make your speech more advanced in terms of the syntax and the words that you use. And it's much easier to remember words if you just remember one stem word and you derive all the or learn to derive all other words from it. So we're gonna start with a quick look upon gerunds and infinitives again. So gerunds and infinitives, especially the gerunds, are produced out of verbs, and they're really good as subjects and objects. They can be used as subjects or objects in the sentence. As you can see here in this sentence, it is hard to follow your dreams. So to follow your dreams is actually an infinitive clause. So it's an object in this, it acts as an object in this sentence. So then I take this word follow, the verb, and I create a gerund out of it with this scheme. Easy as that. So following your dreams, this is now a gerund clause. This is a gerund, and it's the subject of this whole sentence. Following your dreams is hard. So Chuck Norris definitely approves this scheme, this gerunds, using gerunds, and it's pretty useful if you want to avoid using of too much or for too much or any other participle over and over again in one or two sentences coming really close together. For example, you've got this sentence: relocation of resources can be time consuming, and imagine that you got a lot of going on in the next sentences and sentences before and in the same sentence, so you want to avoid using this of. So you can you can take relocate as a verb, перемещать, and you can build a gerund out of it, so that this gerund is still a verb, so it controls the next word, resources, not as a noun, like here, relocation of resources. This is a normal way nouns connect to each other with of. And because this is a verb, you don't use of here, and you simply control the next noun as the verb relocate does. So relocating resources can be time consuming. Of course, you can say that relocating resources, this gerund here looks the same way the participle one looks, relocating, перемещающиеся или перемещающие. So, but if you look at the context, you will see that you can't mix them up, you can mess them up. Relocating resources is definitely here a noun kind of structure, not a participle. Based on the context, you can differentiate between these two. So that's why we could use gerunds as like basics of our word building. If you forget how to build a proper noun out of the verb, if you're not sure if it's relocation or relocatement, use relocating, and that will be easy. So, but now let's turn to like proper transformations, proper part of speech transformations, and we of course do that with suffixes that come in the end of the verb or over words. So, but pay attention here that that this is not a science. I put the alchemy sign in here because this is more like the alchemy, not the real science, the chemistry. So there are no definite rules for that. Basically, it's a trial and error process. People try to build words, and if they sound right, if they sound okay, and everybody uses them, they become part of the norm. If not, they just die out. So the most important verb to noun transformers, as you can say, the suffixes transform verbs to abstract nouns are of course meant, ion, tion, h, ends, your. So you remember probably meant, that develop, development, establish, establishment, govern, government. So you build nouns easily. or ION, that's information, or even this word transformation, as you can see. From the word transform, трансформировать, изменять, you create a noun transformation, трансформация. And as for the the meaning, if you have a Russian word ending with ция, трансформация, you can be really sure that you can be pretty sure that there is a word ending with ion in the English language, the same word, like stagnation, стагнация, relocation, релокация, and so on. So I put some more suffixes in here, like ship and owl. These are pretty old English suffixes. They were used even before we had these French originating ones, like influence or failure here, or heritage, and so on. So these ones are used to create abstract nouns out of nouns. So I didn't know where to put them, so I put them here. So just remember that there are such suffixes, and if a word ends with ship, for example friendship, or owl, like principle, it should be a noun. Like 90% of the cases that's a noun. Like friendship, дружба, or add ship to a friend, and that's a friendship. Or scholarship, or internship, or no, not adulthood. So we also got these four little suffixes that you usually use with verbs or nouns to create a noun that means like somebody or something that does the action. For example, a doctor, an old Latin suffix, or its a more useful English equivalent er, engineer, rocketeer, I don't know, driver, or ist, that we actually add to some names of musical instruments like piano, pianist, or guitar, guitarist, and or you can use that with names of sciences like physics, physicist, but it doesn't work with mathematics. With mathematics, you should use en, like mathematician, as a magician or physician. There is a difference between a physicist and a physician, a big one. Physicist, physic, physician, врач-терапевт. So don't mess them up. Don't mix them up together in one sentence. So as you can see, there is no definite rule which of the suffix to use in this particular situation. You need to act by your senses, act by ear, and try to use some of them and remember which of the suffixes actually used as a norm. So we move on to noun to adjective transformations. A quick a quick remark. These are not all the suffixes that we use to create adjective out of nouns. These are the most common ones. Of course, we got full here, like beauty, beautiful, pain, painful. So you add them to a noun to create an adjective, normal one, painful, болезненный. And probably you remember that there is an opposite suffix. That means the opposite, less. So you've got painful, you got painless, безболезненный, but it doesn't work with all the adjectives like that. So you got beautiful, and there is no beautyless. You should use ugly instead to mean the same, what you wanted to say. So as again I repeat that this is not a set of rigid rules with the whole system built up. It's just a craft of building new words, as alchemy is or used to be a craft of doing some chemistry before the chemistry was invented. So, and you've got some like gruesome, bothersome, or troublesome. So it's a pretty old one, and we rarely use that. And of course, one of the most important ones, as with ic, in the end, like chaotic or periodic. We've got ive or eve suffix that you can build adjectives with: productive, effective, constructive, and so on. Even the word adjective has eve in the end, so it's easy to remember it like this. If you want to create an abstract noun out of an adjective, here are this line enumerates some of the suffixes to help you, like AC, adequate, adequacy, continual, continuity, or for example, ness, beautifulness. So these are the adjectives, the suffixes that can help you. And again, I didn't know where to put these three, especially this one. So you add that usually to a noun to create an abstract noun: adult, adulthood, brother, brotherhood, neighbor, neighborhood, and so on. But these two are usually also pretty old, and they are used to create nouns out of adjectives. Short ones usually, like free, freedom, star, stardom, bore, boredom, and th is used with a very limited number of adjectives, like wide, width, long, length, and strong, strength, for example. So we move to verb transformations. If you want to build a verb out of an adjective or a noun, you usually use these suffixes. They're pretty easy to memorize because I used memorize here, or verify, or exonerate, or alternate. So you got alter, alternation, alternate. And this one, en, is also pretty old. It looks like a German ending of a verb, and that's because like English used to be or is a Germanic language, and it has roots in the Germanic languages. So en is a pretty common verb ending. And it's used with wide, widen, or length, lengthen. As you can see in the first case, I used adjective wide, and I added en right to the adjective. In the second case, and with the same case as in strength, not strong but strength, strengthen, I used a noun derived from an adjective. So I used adjective, then I created a noun, strong, strength, and then out of strength I created a verb, strengthen. So for verb transformations, it doesn't actually matter what to use, an adjective or noun. So these parts of speech are equal to verbs. So probably it should be useful for you, because as I used to say before, as I said before, English is a verb language. So verbs are very important for the language, for this language. So you need to know how to build verbs, at least some ways. So now we turn to a different route of creating new words and new vocabulary. This is compound nouns. A compound noun is basically like when you put two nouns together, as with this very simple thing, like compound noun is also a compound noun. So get compound and noun together, or it's an adjective, it doesn't actually matter in here. But the more obvious example is this guy who created a whole song teaching people how to build compound nouns. So as you can see, he's holding pen, pineapple here. So these are two nouns going one by one. So pen, pineapple. So we get pineapple and a pen. The most important one here, the systemic word here, is the word pineapple. So in Russian it is still ananas. And what kind of pineapple is that? That is a pen, pineapple. So this word here acts as an adjective kind of thing. So the funny thing about the word pineapple is that it's also a compound noun, so you can build them one by one or all together in a sequence. So you can say that pineapple is an apple of a pine. Sosnovое яблоко. As you can see, it looks like an apple that can come from a pine, or that looks like a pine. So an apple of a pine, pineapple. So we got lots of other compound nouns that we use, like clock of alarm. That's of course alarm clock, or traffic lights. Traffic lights. As you can see here, lights is in plural. So there are many, like three of them, the green, yellow, and red. So traffic lights should stay plural. That's why lights of traffic when I put lights in the end, the plural form still exists, still stays there. Traffic lights. Then we got test for simulation of crash. So we wrap them up. The most important word is test. It should be in the end. And for these two, simulation of crash, the most important one is, of course, simulation. So going one by one from the end, it should be crash, simulation, test. Sometimes, when you build like a proper compound noun and you want it to stay, you want to make it as short as possible, like 2 or 3 words, that's enough. So when you talk about something obvious, like the word system in here, you mean it, and everybody understands that you test a system for penetration. So you can omit that and just say the penetration test. And here is another example of like plurals staying or not staying. This is a loss of packets, and because this one is an adjective kind of thing and should go first, it should be packet loss. So I drop the plural form here because it doesn't matter. So the main word here is loss and singular, and stays singular, and with packet we just put in a singular form because the plural form doesn't matter. We don't use plurals normally here in the dependent words, dependent nouns. So now it's time to spice things up a bit with some prefixes. As for the prefixes, we don't use them for transformations. We just add some meaning to the existing words, and it stays in the same part of speech. For example, these are negative prefixes. They mean like not, something like that, like unpleasant or impossible or disrespectful or non-smoker, for example. With these two words, like miss means in the wrong way, and mal is a Latin, an old and cool Latin prefix that means badly, in a bad way. So miss, you can mishear things, so hear in the wrong way, or misunderstand or misinterpret. And with mal you can like things a machine can malfunction, so it works in a bad way, malfunctions. Most of these prefixes were also borrowed to the Russian language, so you understand what they mean just by looking at them if you are well educated enough. So if you're educated enough, sub meaning under, not sub, and multi meaning many things, like multimedia, multi-use, multi-purpose, multi-user interface. Co means like doing together, coexist, cooperate, coordinate. Super means sверх, or supernova, сверхновая, supermassive black hole, сверхмассивная черная дыра. And then we got trans meaning like over, transatlantic, transfusion, or something like that. Re is a prefix that means like doing something again, over, redo stuff, repeat, not repeat, rewrite or redecorate, for example. Then we got pre, that means like before, doing things beforehand. Pre-order, pre-exist, or prehistoric times, for example. Доисторические времена. Foreground, fore means like before, in front, and hind means like at your back, so you can foresee things using your foresight, and there is a hindsight that we discussed in the previous semester. Then we get other international kind of prefixes like inter, meaning in between. Don't confuse it with intra, that means inside, or that is the opposite of extra, that means outside. Extraordinary is like there are a bunch of ordinary things, and extraordinary thing is somewhere outside of this domain. Or extraterrestrial, so the terrestrial things that live and inhabit Earth are terrestrial, and if an alien comes, he or she is, or it is, extraterrestrial. Semi means, or semi, you can pronounce it both ways, means half, so there is a semicircle, полукруг, or semi-automatic gun, полуавтоматический пистолет. And we got some prefixes that count things, or help us to count things, like wheels on your bicycle. If it has only one wheel, it's a unicycle. If it has two wheels, it's a bicycle. If it has three wheels, it's a tricycle. And you can count money with that, like million, billion, trillion, or quadrillion, and so on. So it's basically used for large numbers, like 1, 2, 3, and on and on. So that's that basically wraps it up for all the word transformations and word formation that we have to discuss today and this week. So your home assignment is exercise 6, and these 4, from the first to the 4th one, are in the word formation PDF that I sent you before. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you next week.